2010. So thank you for letting us bring you into our journey. That piece of equipment that you see at the top is exactly the thing that Catherine and I were looking into down here in the bottom left. That bottom top left picture was our first product, the one that I said Catherine destroyed, quote unquote. She did not. It just turned into 26 other new products that were better, less expensive, heavier duty, and did some incredible work. So one note here is all of these pictures are from our lives. These pictures are not from stock, right? We don't take things off of the internet. This was actually one of my trips to Tanzania or Namibia. I think this was Namibia. Yeah.
Namibia.
Yep, it's the Maasai tribe, yes. So thank you, Sammy. I love this picture because the mommies were all sitting around, and of course they had the jewelry that I gave to, the bracelet I gave to Catherine came from this woman. So I don't know if I told you that, Catherine, that's full circle. I just love this. The beauty inside of a woman when they're caring for their children is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But I want to tell you a little bit about how this works. Women actually carry the DNA of their children inside their bodies way after the babies leave their body. They actually have found that the DNA of the children is found in the mother's brain. The residue of the children in our lives that we've given birth to and those that we haven't, those that we've given birth to, the residue sticks in the brain. I'd say those we haven't given birth to, the residue sticks in the heart. But the interesting thing is this may explain the mother's intuition. Moms can sense danger. They can pick up on their child's cry from within a group of children. I don't know, for those of you who may not have had children of your own, how you probably feel when you hear a kid crying. There's something that just gets moved inside of us. And this profound connection that we've had since the beginning is something that really does guide us in our business life as well. These are some websites that you can visit later, and there's some more at the end that give you some more of the context on this information. But what I found the most interesting is that the national, what is NCBI, but the National Institute of Health in the US did a study, and what they found was women know when their babies are sick and they should stop being ignored. The study looked at dozens of mothers and dozens of children that ended up in ICU. And there was a consistency in the data that showed that moms were consistently saying their babies were sick and they knew something was wrong, and people were not listening. This happened in my life, which resulted in my son having the seizures. And almost dying when he was born. Maternity care workers, because of this new study, have been now encouraged to be alert when women express their feelings. They basically said, if a woman says her child is sick, you need to act accordingly now. Don't wait. Don't push her off. Don't say come in a week. You need to act accordingly, because the mom has the physical connection with the baby and they will know. And so stop telling the moms that they don't know. I found that to be an incredible study, and I'd love for you guys to see more of it, you ladies to see more of it when you go through. Women are genetically wired to respond. Our brain responses to infants to be fed. I found this one the most interesting. The data set said that the typical mind wandering that takes place in a man cannot be triggered to focus on the need of the child as quickly or as easily or as often as women. So basically, when women are in their headspace, just thinking, mind wandering, if someone needs you, you jump out of it, right? A man, according to the data, takes them a little bit more time to jump out of it, if they jump out of it at all. And so jumping between tasks and being able to what we call multitask between many different things is actually built into us as women, which I find beautiful and fascinating. So what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to show you a video in a moment, and this is where the disclaimers came in from the beginning, which is we're not medical doctors. We are not here to tell you to change anything in your physical or medical health, but we're going to show you another patch to the quilt. This person who's going to speak is a man named Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's actually quite famous over here now. He founded something called epigenetics. What epigenetics is, and I'll get to these other points in a minute, epigenetics is the science that proves that the imprint of our lives change, alter, adjust our DNA. And when it changes our DNA, it passes down 14 generations of measurable impact, meaning that if, for instance, my grandparents were, let's say, in the Holocaust, so let's say they survived the Holocaust, but they were starving, that starvation will literally change the DNA code, and the change in that DNA code can be traced down 14 generations of offspring. It's measurable, it's quantifiable, it's real. So when we have heard, I think in some Christian traditions and some Jewish traditions, the sins of our fathers and mother, right? The sins of our father and mother. That's something that passes down, and it actually is true from a genetic perspective. The way that we behave will affect our genetic lineage for at least 14 measurable generations. Through his study, he started out at the University, I think, of Wisconsin. He got his doctorate. He's been studying quantum physics, pairing biology, because his primary focus has been in biology, the biology of the cell and the cell membrane. He was an atheist before he started his study in quantum physics. And as a result of his study of quantum physics and layering that on top of what he knew about biology and the construct of our cells and our bodies, he realized that he wasn't an atheist and that he believed in something he didn't realize he believed in. I have a little bit of a similar journey, that's a different one, but has some similar pieces to it. And through this journey, his journey, he found that not only in quantum physics, he found that the brain cells that we thought were just in the brain are actually in our hearts. The things that we call neurological brain cells are actually in our hearts. There are more brain cells, quote unquote, mini brains in our heart than there is actually in our minds, which I find fascinating. At, excuse me, at Stanford University, he revealed that the cell membrane is what controlled the behavior and the physiology of these genes, which means that in that epigenetic context, where if something happens in your life, it's shown up in your DNA, basically that your cells are an on-off switch, turn on, turn off, and you give it the message based on the proteins in your body. It's a deep biology discussion that we won't get into, but if you're interested, there's more information on this. Dr. Bruce Lipton, through this process, found out a few things about the mind and the body, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about it. And I will say that when I play this video, keep in mind that I will have to do some pausing, and I will have to go through the clips. So what I want to do quickly is to make sure everyone can see this screen while I play it. I'm going to move this over, and we are going to go to... I'm only giving you what matters, so that's why when we couldn't get this clipped in time, you know.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Look, I can feed you with an idea that this pill that we just got from the pharmaceutical company, it's the greatest, best thing for your issue. And I give you this pill and you get better. And then later you find out it was a sugar pill and everybody goes, yeah, that's called the placebo effect. I go, what is it?
Sorry, ladies. Of course, we knew that was going to happen, didn't we? Hold on just a second. Uh-oh. Can you see me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me, but you can't see me.
No.
Okay, let's do this. Now you can see me.
Yep.
Yep, and sometimes in the video, you guys, when I click, if this is just a Zoom issue, when we go into the videos, oftentimes it just has a hard time starting and stopping. So I might have to let it play, but we will try. Hold on just 1 second.
It's not in the
Yes.
Question. Just press pause there for a second. Ladies,
Yes.
if you're on Outlook or on any other app, any other program, close that down, please, because what it does is it takes the bandwidth that's needed to play the video, if you don't mind.
Good.
Let's try again, Michelle.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Look, I can feed you with an idea that this pill that we just got from the pharmaceutical company, it's the greatest, best thing for your issue. And I give you this pill and you get better. And then later you find out it was a sugar pill and everybody goes, yeah, that's called the placebo effect. I go, what does it really mean? I said, you didn't get healed by the pill, you got healed by the belief in the pill. At least 1/3, minimum of 1/3 of all medical intervention is, it's a placebo effect where the healing comes from. Everybody goes, yeah, I know about the placebo. I go, yeah, but that's a result of positive thinking. What about negative thinking? And this is what we don't talk about, but the reality is it's equally powerful in regard to affecting your biology as is positive thinking, but it works in the opposite direction. A negative thought is called the nocebo effect. It can cause any disease and you can die. If you believe you're going to die, you can die from the belief. So we really have to watch out because, as psychologists would tell us, 70% or more of our thoughts are negative and redundant, replaying the same negative thoughts. I go, if thoughts had nothing to do with it, fine. But thoughts positive.
Yes.
Turn it up.
Turn it up more.
Yeah.
It's as loud as it's gonna get, I think. But if I stop it, it's gonna have to keep stopping. So I'm gonna turn it all the way up, and we'll just try. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Pill, you got healed by
We'll start it right here.
in regard to affecting your biology, as is positive thinking, but it works in the opposite direction. A negative thought is called the nocebo effect. It can cause any disease and you can die. If you believe you're going to die, you can die from the belief. So we really have to watch out because, as psychologists would tell us, 70% or more of our thoughts are negative and redundant, replaying the same negative thoughts. I go, if thoughts had nothing to do with it, fine. But thoughts, positive or negative, shape our biology. And all of a sudden it says, well, now it's time to wake up because our negative thinking is manifesting a negative life experience. And it took about 20 years before science owned what I was talking about and gave it the name epigenetics. That's the new science.
Okay, which is the belief that through your behavior, you can kind of alter your genetics, pass those on, express it differently. I'm probably using the wrong words.
Well, pretty close right
People
now.
talk about it as a reality, although it's still not totally understood or totally believed.
It is now.
Okay.
It is a science. It's a hard science, and it's the leading edge. Now,
Okay, and bear with me. You can watch all of this later. You'll have it in the PowerPoint, but I'm just giving you a few clips to take into consideration for quilt making.
well, empower yourself because you're the one that controls all this. Any drug that affects you, you got to understand this. If I take a drug and it affects me, the reason why it affects me is because I have a natural equivalent of that drug in my own biology. You don't take a drug and it affects you and you have a receptor for that drug, like you were having this protein receptor for a drug you may never take. That would be silly. So if you have a receptor for a drug, then by